And hello, this is The Ocean with The Ocean's Deep Woo. And tonight, I know it's unannounced and it's kind of late. And I guess maybe some of you in other parts of the world might pick up on this, or you might not. You might not get the note until tomorrow. YouTube has been very slow. I wasn't getting any of my notifications. Hardly, not on time anyway, not until the shows were over. I am thinking, let me know how you feel about this. I'm thinking of coming in about 8 or 9 on Sundays. Does that sound like it's going to be good for my family? And that's Eastern. We'll discuss it when I see some of you come in. If you don't see this until later, that's okay. We're going to be discussing frequencies, and it probably won't be the only time. But I have to say, there's been um, some wonderful things going on. And I'm glad that finally we're heading out of what's been a very dark age and a dark time. But it was almost like I view the last, 2 or 3 years as a testing ground for a lot of us. Test our resolve, like how much of what we say we believe do we really believe? Because people say a lot of things. People in the metaphysical community, my hair is just totally a mess. People in the metaphysical community say a lot of things. And people in that aren't, they say a lot of things they don't really mean or don't really understand. And I can even be one of those sometimes, because sometimes I can get confused about terminology. Terminology is something that can trip up the best of us because we don't all use the same language. We know what happened at the Tower of Babel, right? So mostly what I go into is when I am meeting and talking to either ETs or those who have passed on. I've been calling it dimensions because people understand that more, but more properly, we're dealing with beings of another density. That's what they've decided to call this. Although to me, it doesn't sound right. To me, a higher density sounds like it should be more dense and not less. But it's just the opposite. It's like a higher density is actually less dense. It's less, it's more ethereal. It's a higher vibration. So, what's really happening with a lot of us now is we have gone through, many of us have been going through this long, dark night of the soul. And hi, Richard, how you doing? We've been going through this long, dark night of the soul, kind of collectively and individually, clearing things away. Because really, for the next phase, we need to be able to shift our density. We need to be able to meet them where they are. Hi there. Yeah, we need to be able, they are not in the lower densities mostly, okay? Now, if you ask me why aliens aren't just here among us, well, I would say a lot of them are. They're here. They've been here. They could be your next door neighbor. You wouldn't know. A lot of ETs look like us, and you wouldn't know. They might just be a little strange. They might even be me. Anyway, you know, um, just because you look like us doesn't mean you necessarily are exactly us. So apparently, there are people coming forward saying they have known people who are and have told them and have even shown them, proven to them that they are ETs. And that's interesting because, yeah, I have run across that too. I have told you before that some of them are passing themselves off as human. They're a little weird. Their kids are also a little weird compared. I mean, of course, humans are really freaking weird. So who am I calling weird, right? But the lady who was actually a bird creature, I'm sorry, I don't mean to call them bird creatures. And if any of you were listening, we'll call you avian. But her spirit was really avian. And so she took me vibrationally, etherically, to where she lived. This is not the same as what she looked like in physical, what we would call here in the Matrix in the physical 3D. Not only that, but a lot of these ETs are still in the Matrix. So it's very complicated. This is not just a simple thing. Linda, Linda, Linda. It's good to see you. I miss you. Oh, I miss everybody who doesn't make it here. I really do. But I'm glad to see you. Yeah, this is important to know because the closer we come to actual disclosure, once again, I maintain disclosure is us. Okay, we are disclosing to each other. And at a point, we will hit this tipping point. This is the way it looks to me. We're going to hit a tipping point where it is no longer a viable option to hide things from us, to hide that this has been going on because too many of us know. The only way that's going to happen is if we keep talking about it, keep telling each other about it and telling our stories. That's the only way it's going to change. And it has changed. Notice it has changed. And there are people who, after that nothing burger first statement, oh, yeah, there's something in our skies. We don't know what it is. Everybody was saying, no, they're never going to disclose. And I was even kind of feeling like they're never willingly going to disclose, right? They've got too much to lose. There's too much to lose. They have been really hurting a lot of people keeping this secret. How do you think people are going to feel when they realize they didn't need to lose all of the stuff they lost, like maybe a good life? They may have could have had a good life if they hadn't have been interfered with. And if we hadn't been allowed to be interfered with, how different would our lives be here? Well, in order to meet these people, we had to get to a certain frequency. And that's why it's important to understand something about the densities. Like I said, I've been saying dimension because people understand that, but it's really density and it's really frequency. And I've been kind of leading into that for a long time. When you change your vibe, you change yourself and you change your world as well. You change the way that you see the world. You change. Now remember, well, we're still in the matrix. This is certain things are still going to be in place. But this is how I would say, probably liken it to getting to another level. a much easier level to deal with. Actually getting out of the matrix, I think that's a lot different. I think it's certainly easier as you ascend through these levels of density, because as I recall, it's like the less physical you get, the more your frequency increases, the less you are trapped in the matrix. So, like I said, if this is a good time, if Sunday nights is a good time for you, I'll start scheduling some things on Sunday night. I'll start having an actual schedule again so people can find me. I am really hoping that I can get on, Sundays. Um, I don't know, would you like 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, maybe 10 o'clock Sundays or something. Depends. I'm going to try and be on tomorrow again. I'm going to try and be on more often, just period. So it's easier for the algorithms to pick me up. And once again, for those of you who want to see more of me being on, please don't forget to like. And when the show comes back up after we close, please leave a comment on the video if you don't mind. Oh, you just got home from a motorcycle ride with friends. Well, you should be doing pretty well, Richard. See, that's just it. One of the reasons we have been having so much trouble making this whole rise in vibration thing happen, which is really what ascension is. It's not like you're really physically going anywhere or doing something, physical. This whole thing is a frequency match game. That's how the law of attraction works too. And then you realize that all of this stuff that is done that is negative is lowering our frequency. And this is what's really keeping us trapped. Because it's really hard, very tricky to get out of that. You can be temporarily in a better place, and then something comes along and brings you down again vibrationally. And a lot of the things that are bringing us down are things that have been done that aren't natural for us. For instance, it's not natural for us to be so radiated. This place is horribly radiated. From what I'm hearing from the ET's point of view and from the higher densities, is not everybody can handle this 3D density, 3D and 4D. It's painful. It makes you sick after a while. The vibration can kind of trap you here too. If you sink too low, it's hard to climb back up. And we know this because we've all been trying to do this for a long time. Now, I know I'm much better off since I moved. Where I was really vibrating so low that it was amazing that I managed to stay there as long as I could. But I learned a lot about how to keep myself from going off the edge into the abyss, so to speak. And you can do that real intentionally. But for most of us, it has to be intentional. We have to have some kind of a practice or something that we do in order to not get pulled back down again. But I'm telling you, people ask me how do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of that? that's bothering me. And I tell you, none of it would be there if it couldn't reach you. It can only reach you when your vibration is low enough. Once you get past a certain point, it can't match your vibration anymore. You're not a match to that, in other words. You cannot be touched. You vibrate. You can literally vibrate. Ladies, don't whip out the vibrator and think, I don't know, maybe that might help. Put you in a better mood. Go right for it. I don't care. I'm not judgmental about these things, right? Whatever floats your boat within reason. I mean, I'm thinking, but honestly, being happy, having a good sense of humor helps. I find that a lot of the higher level entities have a really good sense of humor. That, I think, is one of our great gifts, is that we have a sense of humor to pull us out of these really dark and low frequencies. It's a way to get ourselves out of that. But of course, we always talk about meditation as being an essential thing. Richard liked that one. Okay. We talk about meditation because in order to get to these higher frequencies, you got to kind of cancel out the lower ones. And meditation's a good way to do that, is to get out of the lower ones. But ways that you can soothe yourself, make yourself happy, and keep your mind on how things are working out, how things are going to work out. And really, it's kind of a tightrope walk, knowing what's going on in the world, but not letting it drag you down. This is really the challenge right now, and the opportunity. It's a great opportunity, because if you can do that, if you can walk that line where, yeah, I know this is going on, and I know that's going on, and I know that this exists, and I know that that exists, and it's really scary, but somehow you manage to hold on to the fact that it's going to get better, that things are getting better. We are moving on up. We're moving on up to the sky. Okay. Will we get our piece of pie? Hell, not till we get there. It might be a pizza pie. You know what? This is the problem. When we came here, we were thinking it was going to be a pizza run, because a lot of us came here from a much higher density. And this looked like a pizza run. And the problem is, it was pizza with everything. Okay. And it wasn't really much of a pizza run. It was a lot more than that. So this was no pizza. This wasn't really that kind of pizza run. This was more like a grab your, there's a video game we need to have. Grab your pizza, see if you can make it to the pizza place, grab your pizza and go home safely, right? Well, everybody's trying to take your pizza or something. Or trying to steal ingredients or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So let's see. Let's go over it. Do avians exist? Not the way that some people have been describing them, no. I've seen pictures of what people have described, and no. The one that I saw when I saw her etherically, and where she actually lived, where her spirit lived, where she actually resided, and where she was operating her little human Avi from, she looked more like a cockatoo, honestly, with a crest. That must be where that little crest is in the picture that's been circulating. But no, she looked more like a cockatoo. And where she lived I could see it as being a place where an avian would live because everybody's got a balcony. It's very high up. Everybody's got a balcony. There's these this massive. I mean, I saw one of the structures. It kind of is shaped like a tree. Everybody had a balcony. I suppose they fly. Maybe they still fly. I don't know. I wasn't around long enough to ask questions. I was lucky that she let me see it long enough to see what I saw. But she told me, she admonished me to never let anybody know where she was, where she really was, where this was and everything. And I said, that's okay. I really don't know who I would even tell anyway. And I'm not sure how I would tell them to get here anyway. So I did see one. I did see a mantid. I saw one at an open air event. He was actually a doumbek player. Apparently, they like to play the doumbek. That's one of their things, which kind of later on I find out that the Bushmen consider the mantis a bushman. So the mantid playing a doumbek makes sense to me. They have ties with Aboriginal people. Hey, Marilena, sister, I'm on late enough that you can be here live. Yeah, I'm thinking I ought to vary the times so that some of my people in different places can see me. Hello, babe, I love you. Yeah, and I'm talking about the ETs that I've seen, and of course I saw it as an overlay over his physical body, what we will call physical body, his little avatar that he was running, which is what these are. We're running avatars. These bodies are our avatars, and it's important to take care of your avatar, but it's not our only form. It's not our real form. So that's another thing to remember. And then I'm pretty sure that there's been, oh gosh, there was another one that's been mentioned that I've seen too. But I went through a period when I was really seeing a lot more. Oh yes, the time I went to the bar, I had just had this very, meditation session, Reiki. We'd been to a Reiki thing, and my vibration was very high. And I looked around the bar and I saw what everybody really was, and I said, nobody's really from here. Everybody was from everywhere in the bar at that point. And I'm like, wow, do they even know? I mean, do they even remember who they are? A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't remember that they came from somewhere else, that they're actually somewhere else running an avatar. That's part of the game. That's part of the matrix. And now that the matrix is coming unscrewed from being screwed up, people are going to be able to remember some things. Because we're finding that being totally forgetful, although it added to the game, it also made it very hard to get ahead when the game was screwing up, to figure out what was going on when the game was screwing up. So when the Matrix got screwed around with, it was kind of hard to it's kind of hard to figure out what was going on. So we actually had to come in, and then we forgot. Some of us just forgot entirely. Some of us forgot for a while. Some of us would have little flashes of remembering. And then there are all kinds of things that can happen to you that make you forget again. That's another thing. There are people, well, beings, we'll call them beings, what the heck, whatever you want to call them, that will make you forget. It's part of the clampdown. But like I said, being able to walk that line where you know this is happening and yet you realize that you can be on another level without going anywhere, I mean, honestly, whoa, something is up my nose. You can be on another level without going anywhere. I'm pretty sure I saw a lizard guy. Well, I have seen, but he didn't let me see what he actually looked like, but he did admit to me that that's what he was. And it was somebody that I knew quite well. And he was weird. I mean, we all said he is a weird guy, but he wasn't one of the really negative guys. So apparently there are different lizards too. There are more snaky ones and more lizardy ones. Some of the experiencers are talking about that there's more than one kind of lizard. Some of them are more serpentine, some of them are more lizardy, and the ones that you really got to watch out are more lizardy. And but this guy, everybody knew he was very strange. That there was something very strange about this guy, but he looked human enough. And the only thing about him is he had very clear eyes. His eyes were almost, uh, how even blue eyes have some kind of density to them, but his didn't. It was weird. It was more like looking at marbles. His irises was more like looking at marbles, like marble, like clear. It was odd. The other odd thing was his teeth were too white. He kept his teeth very, very, very. I mean, he was crazy about his teeth. He was just really scrupulous about his teeth. And this is interesting because they're predators. I mean, it's a predatory species, and it could be that this is one of the things that particular predatory species is, one of their little traits, is that they're very, very preoccupied with their teeth. Um, so yeah, his teeth actually in the black light would glow, which usually means false. False teeth will glow because they're, artificial, but his glowed in black light. I mean, I was out with him to various places. There was one bar where they had the black lights. His teeth glowed blue. And I mentioned it. He said, "Well, that's because I keep them so clean. I'm so careful with them. I keep them so white. If they're that white, I'm doing a good job." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Holy freakazoid! That's cool, but usually, you know." So yeah, gotta maintain them. You just finished the deep meditation. Oh, cool. I'm glad, Marilena. Well, yeah, I'm gonna try and have some later night ones because I can do that. I don't have to be up for work tomorrow. I have to be up sometime tomorrow, but I don't have to be up at a particular time tomorrow, so I can do that. So probably sometimes I'll be on a little later. I'll try and make sure I do. Anyway, so I saw all kinds. I mean, it looked almost like Mosai Sleep Cantina. I think I've mentioned this before. There was another one, a third one that I got to see. Can't think of it right now. That was just a regular person that I got to see what they looked like. That they let me see that. But then I let them see me too, because I've actually got, apparently, I'm in more than one place, just like I can be here. Like when I was clearing a person's place, I was crossing over all these people and I showed up standing right beside her. And she screamed because she wasn't expecting it. And she was trying to ask me while I was talking to her on the phone from my home and also standing beside her, crossing people over. I guess it really freaked her out at first. She couldn't figure out how I was doing that, but I guess I can do that. So it's been proven to me that I can be more than one place at a time and not even sometimes be aware that I'm doing it. So Can I control more than one Avi at a time? I guess so. Maybe that's another thing too. How do I know that when I see the bridge of this ship, as a matter of fact, I think this probably is the case. That's another one of my Avies up on that ship. That's how it is that I can have that. Uh, when I say, do I actually have a ship? And then Pendulum says yes. That's how it is, maybe. Does this little Avi have a starship? No. Does one of my Avies have a starship? Yeah, maybe so. So you are going to be what we call that multidimensional. You might be multidimensional too, but it's really not dimensional, it's density. Apparently, as you go up in density, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeve that we don't normally think of as being a normal human thing. Although it is a normal human thing, because humans actually are meant to be very, very magical and brilliant creatures. And once we remember that and start getting those back, it becomes very apparent. Sure, you can, dear. Oh, it's 6:38 a.m. A.m. Holy crap! I'm sorry. Did you just get up? Oh, you just meditated. We're meditating, Mary. Okay. Um, I think you can, Mary. Marilena. I don't know. I expect you could if the thing is I don't even know how I get there exactly. It's just like I'm talking about it right now, and right now I'm seeing it. It looks a lot like the Bridge of the Enterprise, but not quite. They got it almost right though in that show. It looks more like that than it looks like anything else I've seen. And I do seem to be in a central location. So, and there are other people around me. I can sense that. Although I'm looking at a screen right now. So, from there. And let me see if I can see anything else. Yes, there's somebody standing over to the side. Really doesn't look anything like human. I'm not sure what they are. But that person does not look human. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how much I can do here from here. Mostly I'm seeing not exactly machinery. I'm seeing lights that stand in for machinery. You wouldn't be able to see it if you wouldn't be able to see this if you were looking for actual machinery. This is more like an overlay. Like you'd be, it's kind of like seeing a hologram over everything. It's like an overlay. You wouldn't be able to see the controls of this ship unless you were looking at it the right way. You'd need I guess you'd need your third eye to be able to run this thing. You wouldn't be able to run it from a strictly 3D place. That's interesting. I want to stay here though. I can't go there and that much. Okay, this brings me to why I can now answer a question that some of you have, that people have voiced, is why do they not just come and see us? Why don't they just, show themselves? Well, they will. We're rising in vibration enough to be able to meet them. We're actually coming to them in many, many ways. as we lose the parasites, and we are, as we come out of their grip and rise above all that, vibrationally, frequency wise, we will be able to see them more because we dwell more where they dwell. It's hard for some of them to be here because it's a sick place. We've been very radiated. A lot of them don't want to risk. They just don't want to take the time out to come here and deal with the energies. You know, when it's a lower vibration, it hurts. It's no fun. I mean, this is the whole reason we get hurt and age and get sick. Is it's not good for us either. We're also having trouble with this. If it weren't for all that, we would be living a lot longer and we would be living a lot healthier. The problem is this place has become very irradiated since they've been um, doing this stuff with the bombs. They've been irradiating food. And if you don't know that they're irradiating all the produce in the grocery stores, supposedly in order to keep the pests and the microorganisms, kill all that, to make sure that's all dead. Although we know damn well that the only thing that's going to be left after irradiation is pests, is insects, because they don't deal with radiation the same way. See, the excuses they give just don't wash. But, you know, the average person would think, oh, yeah, that'd kill anything. No, it won't. No, it won't. These creatures could actually live through a horrifically radioactive environment. A lot of insects could do that. And probably that's why a lot of them have been around a long, long time. And probably we're going to be leaving a lot of those behind too as we rise, because probably I think there will be some things we won't see anymore because they won't be able to match the vibration. And I'm not using that as a judgment against anything, but I really don't think we're going to have as much trouble with pests, what we consider pests, as we rise in vibration, because they're more troublesome things are just not going to be able to make it there. So as this goes on, as time goes on, and we rise in vibration, and I tell you, a lot of this has come up. Like I said, I have stopped eating refined sugar and I've gotten rid of the weaponized wheat. It does make a huge difference. Please try it. If you haven't done it already, please try that, because it makes a huge difference. I mean, I can't believe how much different. I can't believe how much of that stuff had snuck into my diet without me even thinking about it. It's very hard to get away from here. And there's a reason for that. It screws us up. And if you haven't noticed, it's anything to screw you up. You know, it's like, here, oh, this screws you up. Have more. Have more, more, more. You know, this doesn't mean you can't have any sugar. I have a little bit of cane sugar, organic, raw cane sugar. A little bit of that. A little bit of other stuff. Hey, junking data girl. But yeah, getting off the refined sugar entirely. No more donuts. Yeah, no donuts. Haven't had a donut in months now. And off the weaponized wheat. And unfortunately, no more Pizza Hut pizza. I have a favorite Pizza Hut pizza, but no more of that. And having to make most of my stuff myself. Well, there you go. So, junking data girl. We're going to have to come up with a song for Junking Data Girl. Boom, boom, boom. Junking Data Girl. La, da, da, da. So glad you stopped by, Junking Data Girl. We don't see you here too often. And anyway, so making yourself happy and making yourself less toxic will actually help you to see what's really there. Now, this is another thing that's very hard for people to understand. It's not that we actually went anywhere. We're not actually moving in an upwards motion or a sideways motion or any kind of a motion. We're actually just changing the frequency. That is all ascension is, has nothing to do with going up levels in any other way. It's not, you're not going to see floor this, floor that. You're not going to see that. You're just going to see that the world has changed. Your world will change. And it makes things much easier to manifest when you do this. Because as I've done these things, it just gets easier. Have any of you noticed? Just easier to make things show up. I mean, honestly, I was looking I was thinking of getting an automatic, I don't know if I mentioned this on that last show. I was thinking of getting an automatic cat box that you don't have to, I'm looking at that. Well, you don't have to change it for a month, you know? Wow, that's cool. Well, but they're like $250 for the covered ones. And I'm like, holy carp, you know, that's a lot of money. I don't really want to put that kind of money out. So the very next day, I'm out doing groceries. My friend's taking me out to do groceries, and sitting right there on the sidewalk in front of an antique shop of all things, there's one right there, sitting there. What? Yeah, there it is. I couldn't believe my eyes for a second. Then I said, whoa. And I told my friend, whoa, we were at a stop sign. I said, hang on. I want to see what's going on here. I yelled at the guy that was sitting there. I said, hey, is that a cat box? Is that an automatic cat box? He says, yep. How much? $15. I'm like, sold, with a lid and everything. And the lid itself is like 20 bucks or something. And I'm like, holy carp, that was fast. I just thought about this a couple of days ago, or like yesterday. I was looking at them, and today I've got one for $15. I just manifested one. Now, what we're told is that these things always exist, like where I am now, at the vibration I am now, at the frequency I am, density, whatever you want to call it, at the frequency I am now. When you're at a high frequency, things just manifest easier. So that means as we move up, everything we need is just going to show the freak up. Now, I did put some time into looking at them, deciding which one I wanted. I had in my mind the one I really wanted, and I was looking at some that were not as nice that maybe I could afford. And I was, thinking about it, but I was thinking, gee, that one's really nice. I want that one. And they had it sitting there waiting for me. The only thing is, it was missing a few pieces, and that's why they were selling it so cheap. And the pieces are still not going to be as much as, they're still not going to be a couple $100 to get. One of them's like $10 and the other one's like $24. And so, it's not going to be anything like $250 or some crazy thing. So, am I happy about this? This is what I'm told is going to happen more. Is it worth it? Is it worth it changing your density? Is it worth it not eating toxic food. Let me ask you something. What's it worth to you to be able to manifest things out of nothing? Which is not really manifesting exactly. It's just really moving to a vibration where that thing exists at the price you can afford. This happens to me a lot. All you did was you changed your vibe, you changed your frequency. All of a sudden, what you're looking for is there. I had to change my frequency to get this place I'm living now. And it wasn't easy because the place I was before was horrible. So I really had a lot of trouble. This was rough, man, I tell you. It was rough to do. But truth be told, is it worth it? I think so. Um, if you could get all your wonderful superpowers back that humans should have, would it be worth giving up some of the toxicity that we have here? Would it be worth eating organic food, paying for organic food, maybe eating a little less of it, but making sure that it's safe to eat? Would it be worth radiating yourself a little less by not being too addicted to your electronics? Would it be worth not eating weaponized wheat, even though it tastes really good, but it makes you feel really bad? Are you willing to stop poisoning yourself in order to have better things? Now, don't get me wrong. Some people can have these things and they seem to be able to do anything and still have these gifts. I don't know why that is. I think a lot of times it's either temporary or maybe a specific thing. And where would they be if they stopped? You know? But we don't know. Maybe they'd be a lot better off. Um, oh, it's weird. You've been saying you need a. Marilena says she's been saying she needs a new bed, and her sister went to buy herself a new bed. You know what? That used to happen to me, Marilena. It used to be I'd want something, and everybody around me would get one. Everybody would get one but me. I'd be like, huh, weird. It was if you have something blocking it, if you have some kind of attitude, belief, or something blocking it, you're it's just going to bounce off of you. So you'll be in the ballpark, but not quite on. If you can't be a match to it vibrationally, it won't come to you. Um, I had, for instance, one of my friends needed a new mattress, and she really loved my mattress. I got a pillow top. I got a practically new mattress, a pillow top for free from somebody. Then she decided she loved my mattress. She had to have one. She didn't know how she was going to get. I said, okay, let's see if we can manifest you one. Guess what? I ran into somebody that was getting rid of three. But my friend who had wanted one like mine just could not get in touch, seemed to get herself to get in touch with me. I kept trying to get in touch with her. Hey, this person is selling three of them. She's got three of them and she's got to get rid of them. She's going to get rid of them cheap. I mean, you could probably take all three of them. I mean, and this person had a several bedroom home. She probably could have used all three of these mattresses. I said, girl, you need to get in touch with this lady. You could get three of them probably for almost nothing. She just has to get rid of them. She's fixing to just throw them out if because she has to leave her place. She has nowhere to put them. And these extra mattresses, and she never got in touch with me, so she missed her chance. Um, you know, so the opportunity came up. but she didn't get it. She couldn't get it. I wish I'd had the space. If I'd had the space, it would have been okay. I would have grabbed one for her, but I just didn't have the extra space myself for it. I was still trying to get myself out of it, out of my mire. And that's, I think, part of this game is you get presented with these things and you have to get yourself out of it. Somehow you have to find the way out of it. And that went from being a game to being some kind of life and death, holding us down type thing where you can't get where you need to go. I think we built, sometimes I think we built this a little too much, a little too well. But it sure seems real, doesn't it? When you're in pain. Oh, does it ever seem real when you're in pain, huh? So that part we built really well, the sensation part. And the sensation part also seduces us and traps us. Because I mean, oh, I see some things that I would just, when I look at that and I go, oh, I would love to glom that or something, that looks very tasty, but it's made with weaponized wheat. It's poison. It's seductive that all of this stuff is seductive. And it's meant to be. Probably we don't need to eat. I mean, there is a chance that you get out of the matrix, you don't really need to eat, or hardly at all. There's a very good chance, as a matter of fact, Jim has mentioned it, Jim and I have talked about this a lot. Probably we didn't need to eat outside of the matrix. As it is, when I was doing my time in the 3D world chat, that where they called it a world, it was another matrix within this matrix. When I was spending time in there, at first, nothing cost anything. It was all, they were testing everything. Nothing cost anything. Everything was free. People were just exchanging things freely, just for the pleasure of doing it, just for seeing how it worked, how it would work, and practicing the craft of making this stuff. And everything was free. And you didn't have, you could fly, and basically your little avatar could fly, and it could do all of this amazing stuff, and nothing cost anything. Then later on, stuff started to creep in that started to cost money. And I left for a while, and when I came back, everything cost money. You needed and then they introduced pets. And when you would have a pet, you would have to feed it. And it would get sick once in a while, and you'd have to take care of it. And you'd have to spend some money to do that. You'd have to spend your credits to do that. And I thought, wow, is this how it started? Am I seeing how this all began? Is this a replay of what actually happened? Maybe. Because everybody could have their own, in effect, their own planet, their own world. And it would go by their rules. They could set up the rules of their world, whether or not you could fly, whether or not you had telepathy, which was, at that time, the corollary to that was private chat between people. And all that, whether you could change avatars, whether you could change clothing, et cetera, all kinds of things. You could set that up. And when you went to that world, you'd have to go by those rules. And I'm there, oh, is that what's going on? Is that what happened here? Are we? And I'm convinced I was seeing a reflection of how this matrix happened, how things got to be where they are now. I'm sure of it. It's literally a matrix inside a matrix. And they're getting ready to launch it to the rest of the world, probably in Meta. And really, Meta looks like it's not as advanced as some of the things we were working with. Remember, I worked with this stuff. So I am, in effect, one of the contributors to the matrix. When I realized that, I'm like, I knew that. I knew it. And what? I went and did it again. Oh, yeah. Yep. And it reminded me. And the thing that was good about it is it reminded me, wait, we've done this before. We've done this before and before and before. There's literally a matrix and a matrix and a matrix and a matrix and a matrix, probably. This is my guess. So the only way to really get out of the matrix, raise your frequency. The only way to raise your frequency is make yourself a higher vibration, right? And you do that by making yourself happier, even in spite of everything. You have to find a way to keep your vibration high enough, or you will get sick and get all of the problems that we have here. Now, sometimes when we get sick, we're allowed to get sick, even though our guides are looking after us. Our family is really looking after us. And I've been told that there is nothing going to happen to me now that isn't really for my own good. And I said, this torn rotator cuff. And it's like, well, if I hadn't had that happen, would I maybe still eat a piece of birthday cake laden with God knows what? Because that seems to be what triggered it off. To really rip it instead of have just a little torn rotator cuff and just a little bit torn, have it be like ripped to where it's hot. It's literally felt cooking hot. It literally felt like I wanted to move to my next life just to get away from my arm, get away from my shoulder. It really was one of the most painful things, like a bone break. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe without it, incredible amounts of pain. Am I going to remember that the next time that I'm offered a piece of birthday cake? Well, hell yeah, I am. So here we go, you know. Also, I've been gone. I've been not streaming for a long time because just everything was bothering me. They wanted me, they said, I was talking to David and he says, the things we have to do to keep you still so we can work on you. I had to admit, I did ask. I did ask for that. I said, I need some work, obviously, in order to get all of this accomplished. And yet, there's a lot of things that they just can't do with you running around all over the place. You have to kind of stay still and sleep and kind of take yourself out of the freaking way so they can work on you. A lot of us are finding that out. I'm not alone with this. Jim and I said the same thing. She got COVID. She thinks the whole reason she got COVID was to knock her out. And maybe that's what COVID was for a lot of people. To knock her out of commission so she would not be working when she was needing to be worked on. So she would be out of that entirely, even though it looked horrible. How's she going to pay? How are you going to pay your bills? All of this looks awful. And really, I had some problems. I mean, I had to go around and around to get some of my bills paid and stuff. But the ways showed up to do that. I was never left without a way to go, although it did require some work and some doing. And I got to tell you that this uncontrollable sleepy thing was driving me up the wall. Oh, there's Jake. Hey, so much trouble. You rang? Did I ring? Ring, ring my bell. Um, you had an ear infection. See, Marilena, knocked you out for a month. I was knocked out for months. Maybe because I wouldn't stay still. I don't know. But it was months that I couldn't get myself together to even stream on a regular basis. You know, it's been months since I used to stream on a pretty regular basis. I had to stop doing that. I couldn't do it. But then again, what I was living in for 18 years, maybe it took all that time to undo some of that. I mean, that must have been a lot of damage. I was living in black mold and God knows what all talks. Probably asbestos and the paint and stuff. I was living in so much toxicity for so long that maybe it took that long to get through all that. And here I am judging myself. That's another thing. St. Elmo's Fire King Richard. Good. Jake, he always speaks so colorfully. Yeah, lessons we have to learn, Marilena, to take care of ourselves. We're in the homeward stretch, but we can't keep doing the same old shit, you know? I'm sorry, put it bluntly and plainly. We can't keep doing the same old shit and injuring ourselves. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, most of the time, if you're being knocked out for some reason, just assume, you know, if you're uncontrollably sleepy, if you get sick, if something happens, just assume that it's because you need to be worked on. And then don't look at it as some kind of punishment. It is. Ah, yes. And honestly, I'm happy. I'm finding it much easier to keep my vibration up now because I do see the shift. I realize that somewhere in the lower densities are people who are really suffering now. And we may see that. We may still be able to see patches of immense suffering because we're not quite yet entirely out of that density. But once we are, we won't be seeing that anymore. It won't be apparent anymore. We'll be seeing better things and stranger things. Gallows humor. How how is that, Jake? See, I gotta tell you, you guys are an international crew. But I gotta tell you, here in the States, it's kind of scary right now. If I let it be, if I let it be, I could be worried. Look at the spud we got in office. Look at who's in office right now. Holy cow. I mean, if I thought they really were the power, I'd be worried, but they're not really. I believe that they are only figureheads. I believe that other things are going on in the background that are controlling things because honestly, I don't believe they really, I don't even believe they are who they are purported to be. I'm sorry, but many of us are getting that that is not or the original Joe. That is not really him. and maybe neither is camel toe, is what they call it. That's mean. We'll just call her camouflage. I mean, well, giggles. VP giggles. This is a woman on the verge of going mad, I think. She is on the verge of madness because she did not think she was going to have to answer any of these questions. I mean, there are people that are going in for the kill shot and she has no answers. No answers at all. Send them to the Adirondacks. Is there going to be trouble? Deep dark trouble. What kind of trouble have you heard? Because there's all kinds of trouble here, if you want to look at it that way. Let's start up my pendulum, shall we? Let's see, does the pendulum want to talk today? Do you want to help me out here? Okay, the other parts of me are saying yes, they do. Let me test it and say, my little kitty cat here, his name is Herbert. Let's see what you say, pendulum. What do you say? My cat's name is Herbert. No. Okay. But they call me Ocean. Mama Mama Ocean, the Ocean, yeah. And Marilena is Marilena, her real name is Alice. No. See? Okay, it's right. Politically unstable. Yeah, there's always been trouble. We've had trouble here for a long time. I mean, it was really apparent that we were in deep, 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 deep shit when George W. got elected. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of apparent before that, but I mean, that really told me it's like, oh, we are in some deep shit. He got elected. So, no, you aren't. Okay, politically unstable. Yes, very politically unstable. No, you aren't, Alice. It said no. Okay, so are we, who I gotta say, and I'll make a little prediction. Let's see. Is DeSantis up and coming? Is he gonna There is a chance DeSantis is gonna run for president, or people are gonna want him. I don't know this or the next, but I'm beginning to see a timeline emerge where, okay, hang on, we'll get back to you. I'm beginning to see a timeline emerge. See, this is a problem that we've got with Donald coming back. And I think we are seeing him come back onto the scene. Maybe not in quite the same capacity as he was. I'm not sure about that. That's now kind of iffy. And the reason being is because there are still a lot of people who have the psychosis, the derangement syndrome, shall we call it. The media has so programmed them to see him a certain way, and they can't shake it. I mean, and some of these people are even spiritual people, and they think they're doing the right thing. They think they've got it right. And I don't know. We could be wrong too. Maybe we could be wrong. And could Trump have been changed? Could he have been changed? I don't think a clone got put in, but we may ask all these things. But trying to get him back into office, they're going to fight like crazy because they already know what he can do. But there is somebody else on the rise. I don't know if you've heard of him in these other places where you are, but look at Florida's governor, DeSantis. He is saying a lot of things people like. He is taking stands that people agree with. For instance, open borders. We've got open borders. Oh my God. The border states are complaining because they have hordes and hordes of illegal aliens coming in that they cannot possibly hope to house and feed, and they don't know what to do with all these people. Except DeSantis and also the governor of Texas, and I can't remember his name right now, so I'm very sorry. Got the bright idea. I think Texas did it first, and then DeSantis is doing the same thing, sort of thing. Is they are taking their illegal aliens and offering them a free bus trip to Washington, D.C. And Texas is letting theirs off like a block from Jen Psaki's home. And when I see Jen Psaki these days, she looks like she's like, but see what this is doing, and this has happened ever since the truckers, if you think about it, the Canadian truckers did win. They did have a massive win. A lot of things fell. Now, did it solve everything? No, of course it didn't solve everything. Y'all still have Castro Jr., but did it show that common people still have power? Yes, because province after province dropped the mandates. And guess what? The U.S. did too. And for the first time, the U.S. followed Canada, followed the tip-off that happened to Canada. Think about this. This is massive. You can put it down. You can say, oh, it was supposed to solve everything, and it didn't. Nothing can solve everything by itself. But it told us how to solve it. It told us how to solve it. We are not powerless. Well, then, Marilena, I think you were told. I think that may not be true. What you were told may not be true. I will have to I'll have to check into it more. But I think he really is on the side of the people. Or at least he wants to protect Texas. Let's put it that way. He is tired of his people being overrun with illegal aliens. Now remember, all of these people pouring in, they're getting benefits because they don't have any money when they come. They're getting benefits that are not being given to our veterans. People who have never done anything, who have not lived here any time at all, who have not done anything for this country, are being given benefits, and our veterans are not. That's wrong. Well, the only way that we're going to get people's attention is by dropping it at their door. The problem is the politicians, they think they're playing Monopoly. They act like they're playing Monopoly. Honestly, think about it. They're moving pieces on a board. They're not having to deal with the consequences of their actions. We have to make them feel. We have to make them feel what they're doing to us. They have to have consequences. This is the upshot of it. If there are never any consequences, it's the same way with children. Not to be brutal or mean to anybody, but you have to teach them that there are consequences. If not, you are sending them out into the world unprepared. If they never have consequences, they can grow up to be Karen or Brad, if you know who that means on the internet, right? I've seen grown women, Karens, who sit down on their knees on the ground and have a tantrum like a little kid. Now, obviously, as a kid, their parents let them get away with that, and they got something. That was their way that they learned to get stuff. You get stuff by having a freaking tantrum, a hissy fit. You throw a tantrum, and people will give you what you want. That's lazy parenting there. I'm sorry. You have to teach people consequences. That, okay, you can make whatever decision you want, but that doesn't mean the world is going to be happy with, is happier for you. You're going to have to live with your decision. The problem is we've had to live with their decisions. With these politicians, we've had to live with their decisions. They haven't had to live with them. I mean, and this is very apparent. They're telling everybody to stay home and not be with their families over Christmas, but they're throwing a freaking party for themselves and their friends with no masks, right? So the problem is this ruling class always ends up having this feeling that they're moving pieces on a monopoly board and have no freaking idea what it's like to be one of those people that they are affecting. So the U.S. is having food manufacturers burning down. Yeah, I've heard that too. And you can feel in South America electricity power cuts. You know what? You need to find some way to cut the power on your politicians. Here is the thing. They're going to change the policy once they start to feel what they've done, once they start to feel the consequences of what they've done. So how do you get them to feel the consequences? They have a lot of money. All of the Apaches, and listen, Joe left 24, I believe, 24 Apaches. Our main war machine, Apache tanks, left 24 of them. These are worth billions with a B of dollars. Just left them in Afghanistan. Just left them there. Pulled a bunch of people out, totally destabilized the place. He doesn't know he did anything. He doesn't know he did anything wrong. Well, he's a spud anyway, but the people who are making these decisions need to feel what they've done. Oh, yeah? What's it feel like? Okay, so shipping illegal aliens to Jen Psaki's neighborhood. How's that feel, bitch? You guys deal with them. You rich politicians, you deal with these people being in your neighborhood. You feed them and clothe them, cleave them and float them. I don't know. Ooh, that's horrible. Cleave them and float them. Oh no, don't do that. No, you clothe them and feed them and house them. You do it. You do. Let's see how your neighborhoods look after that. After a whole bunch of people with absolutely no way to fund themselves, with no way to take care of themselves, who don't really know anybody here, come flooding into your neighborhood looking for some way to survive. Let's see how it works for you. And, we need to ship some of them to California. Send some of them to California. Let California figure this out. California is one of the biggest. I mean, when I hear something crazy coming out of California, it's like, yep, oh yeah, yeah. Well, sure, of course it is. Now they're trying to pass some kind of a bill where you can kill somebody, where it's not just abortions, it's just you can up to like 20 some weeks or something. You can 22 weeks or something. You can choose a retroactive abortion. What? This is, of course, nutsy. I don't see it passing. But the fact that they can even come up with this means something is radically wrong. Right. Yeah, Africa is having an effect. Yeah. Well, starving us. Well, this is also why the guy whose name rhymes with Phil Bates, that some people think is such a genius. Gates is and it's hard for me to not just think of him as turncoat on their own species. He's into eugenics. A lot of these rich people are, which means they see themselves as superior and worthy to go on, and the rest of y'all are expendable. There are too many of you, and I'm sorry, we need to take you out. And then there's the crazy religionists, who I actually heard one explain it this way. Yeah, we've got to make sure everything goes bad and it's all horrible and hellish, so Jesus comes back sooner and takes the good people away out of here. Now, this is the thing. If you are deluded enough to think that by running the world into the ground and making it a horrendous mess, that you are going to be chosen as one of the good people to be taken to a nicer place, that's really freaking delusional. You are not one of the good people. So, yeah, it's inverted. Yeah, Gates is buying up all of the farmland. They want to starve us. Of course they do. They want to control all the food, which is why we can't let them. I tell you, next month, I'm buying a book on herbalism. Identifying plants that you can eat in the wild and medicines, herbal medicines. I'm buying some books on this stuff. You bet I am. There may come a time when out in the wild places is the only stuff that's safe to eat. You won't be able to get it off your shelves. Or if you grow it yourself. And even then, we don't know what's coming down from the sky. Now, I can clear chemtrails. Oh, and by the way, I can't say chemtrails, but I can say stratospheric aerosol injections. They don't like to form up above me. And it's funny because my helper, she was outside with me, and there were some planes trying to make chemtrails in the sky. I call them sky streaks. Because we know they're not chemtrails. They're stratospheric aerosol injections. They're good for you. Yeah. Like radiated food is good for you. Anyway, yeah, it's all for your benefit. They could not form over where we were. I started to clear them up before they could even make them. I asked for help too. I asked for the other parts of me, and anybody, psychically, I asked, anybody who wants to help with this, help me clear these up. And they did, and she watched it with her own eyes. And if she didn't believe me before, she believed me after that. She believed after that. She's like, and as they came overhead, trying to streak the sky over my head, they stopped a little ways out. I wish I could have gotten it. I wish I could have recorded it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They could not leave sky streaks over my head because I had just done a meditation. I did some of my singing where I got in touch with Mother Earth and Father Sky. You know, that one that I do. I had just done that one. They literally could not lay them down over my head. They disappeared a little ways out, and then they started a little ways in the next city over, next town over, and they stopped the next town over. They could not do it over my head. When my vibration was high enough, they couldn't exist there. That's why I'm bringing this up now. You need to realize once your frequency rises enough, there is nothing they can freaking succeed with. They will not succeed with anything. See, canning food is good. I'm also learning to ferment. And on my Frugal B1TCH channel, I show you a very easy way to make fermented food. It's not that hard. And fermented food is good for your gut. Learn to do it. It's not that hard. Go to Frugal B1TCH. I show you very easy ways to do some things. One of them is to ferment. All it really takes to ferment is salt water and a clean glass vessel. Okay, that's all it really takes. If you have good, clean, organic food, it's already going to have on it what it needs to ferment. You don't have to add anything. You don't have to put it in vinegar or anything. All you need is salt and pure. Make sure the water's pure and make sure that it's organic because whatever you put in there, the nutrients are going to be concentrated. And if it's got anything on it, that's going to concentrate too. But remember, fermentation takes very little effort and it's really good for you. All you need is salt water. And the salt water will keep away the nasty stuff. Okay, we'll keep it from growing the wrong kind of bacteria. So, and I learned that from a chiropractor who had a show, and he had so many good ideas, and he got banned and banned and banned, and finally his show disappeared, which was a shame. Like so many people felt it was a good show. It helped a lot of people, so they had to take it off and say that it was bad because he just refused to say that, you know, the Schmack's attack was a good thing. He refused to cave in, and so they took him off. That's going to change too. What, you haven't had, you have, Marilena, you haven't had any sky streaks, are you saying? Okay, and Marilena says, I always wondered what would happen to those very people once we are taken out. Whom is going to do all this stuff? Robots? The earth will be barren. See, that's just the thing. Now I'm going to talk, I've talked about the upper. Let me talk a little bit first about who's in the upper densities. Our sisters and brothers are in the upper densities. Positive ETs are in the upper densities. They don't want to spend too much time here because they don't want to be poisoned or radiated and just generally dragged down by the vibe. Okay, it makes them sick. Some of them can handle it, some of them can't, and some of them can only handle it for a certain time. And actually, we already know it can give you also emotional and mental issues because it's so traumatic here. So why would they? Until we get ourselves to the vibration where it is safe for them to interact, they won't. They don't want to do it, and I can't blame them. Which is why the ships just appear to just disappear. They change the frequency and they're gone. You know, or you change your frequency and you're gone. Usually, very shortly after the people turn to fear, the phenomena is over. They disappear. A lot of times. It could be because the people's frequency has changed now to fear and they fall out of frequency resonance. I don't know. I'd have to ask more about that. Or it could just be that they decide to go in the way that they go as they change frequency and they're in a different place. Or they change their magnetic polarity. I don't know. There's some indication that some of these ships run on magnetism. Some of them have what they call a gravity drive. And the way that it was explained to me is that it's like they're constantly falling into a gravity well that they're creating ahead of them. So they just create a gravity well in whatever direction they want to go in, and they just go there. It just sucks them there. It just pulls them there. So, and I managed to feel what that felt like. It's very relaxing. It feels like you're gently falling like a feather. It was very relaxing. So they've let me experience some of these things, which I'm so grateful for, because then I can tell you. And if you've experienced some of these things, please let me know. If you want to be on the show and you've had some experiences, please let me know. And don't forget, I'm in MeWe.com. I'm D'Ocean Swiger there. Okay. D'Ocean, Swiger. We have groups there. One of them is the Galactic Woo Crew and the D'Ocean's Woo Lounge. And you can get in touch with me on MeWe because it's safer than Facebook. And I just can barely stand to be in Facebook anymore. So if you want to be on the show, let me know. My service can't seem to handle more than one or two people at a time, though, on the show. It starts to glitch up. And it seems like when other people use StreamYard, same thing. I can be on and talking, and then another person comes. If there's a fourth person, then it starts sounding real digitized, and it starts screwing up and glitching up for me. So for whatever reason, I can only have so many people on at a time. If it's a one-on-one or maybe two other people, I can have you on. And I would like to start having more guests on because, me just talking all the time is okay, but maybe not the best. I'm sure you'd like to see a variety too, right? I do okay, but I'm sure you'd like to see a variety. And maybe I'm going to have to show some more cowboys. People just love cowboy. Do you know that little fart went video, a viral video? Had a viral video. The one where he was reviewing the cat toy, the automatic cat toy, went viral. It's over 1.5K views last I checked. So he's a star. My little boy is a star. Okay. So he needs to review some more products. He's got a following. Anyway, folks, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the lower ones. There are beings that live, of course, in the lower vibrations, and they've been bedeviling us for a long time. And these are what you would probably think of as being demons. It's the same thing, similar thing. But actually, they're ET races that came here and stayed here. Whether they are actually, there is some discussion as to whether they, supposedly, there are some that are native, evolved here back in the time of the dinosaurs. And then there are others who came here and supposedly some of them were allowed here by governments. Our government let them, and our different governments let them have bases here, and they're not positive. And supposedly the most concentrated places, one of them is LA, California, which doesn't surprise me. Who is coming up with the goofiest stuff? It's California, right? What are we dealing with? Why is the place being radiated? It's being terraformed. It's being terraformed for the lower density creatures. They live in radiation and pollution. That's all they know. That's how they live. Everything about them is toxic. They are very toxic to us. Were they to come up here in droves, just touching us, we'd be toxified from them. They are a biohazard, literally. I think Bud Hopkins was one of the ones who talked about these guys. But we dealt with these already in the astral. I hope I don't have to deal with them physically, but somebody might be dealing with them physically. But you'd have to pretty much have a hazmat suit to deal with these guys. And you'd have to have some pretty decent technology that we don't know if we have. If we have it, we don't know about it. We weren't told. But we aren't protected from this crap. The common guy. No. However, they want to take over the surface. They're tired of waiting. They're toxifying us, gradually making the surface more radioactive, more toxic, so they can live here. That's who takes over. That is the answer to your question, Marilena. Marilena, it would be them. And they don't care. If this place is a radiated, barren wasteland, they'll be fine. They live in that. And they could grow their own society here quite well. And they're getting tired of waiting. They want it to happen, but it's not going to happen. At least not for us. Now, switching from that, because I don't want to go into that anymore. I don't want to go into the lower entities anymore. I don't want to pull that in. The higher entities are waiting for us. Our brothers and sisters are waiting for us. They're just waiting for us to figure out how to get to them, to the point where we can meet on equal terms. They would love that. I'm getting so much confirmation. Yeah, am I right on about this? Am I that they are really wanting to meet us too face to face? That they are, yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're really happy that we have gotten this far. And they are helping. Like I said, exactly what I said was going to happen has happened. I said they're going to show up in the sky more often. The sightings are going to go through the roof and spike. They're going to be everywhere. It's going to be hard to deny. Politicians are going to be crapping themselves, scared that now they're going to have to come out with the truth. They are going to have to come out with the truth. It's going to be forced. And now we're seeing that. We're seeing that happen. Little by little, they're having to drip out the truth. They're having to tell the truth. And it pains the heck out of them that they're having to actually tell us the truth. And yeah, they know that at some point, when the full scope of it is found out, there are people who are going to want to kill them, going to want to string them up, or maybe have much worse things happen. They know this because that's what they'd do, right? Now, whether that's actually going to happen, or what vibration that's going to happen in, what frequency, I don't want to speculate. I just know what we need to do for ourselves. Hey, Linda. How you doing, girlfriend? I know what we need to do for ourselves. People make their choices. People made their choice over the last 2 or 3 years. And what choice you made, it's already made. We have decided. Can you change your choice? I think you can. I don't think it's irredeemable, but there will be consequences. There will be consequences. If you want to change your mind, yes, I'm sure you can change your mind, but you will have to deal with the consequences of having made that decision in the first place. Does that make sense? And it is fair. Because, the onus is on us to keep up with this. The onus is on us. On us. We have to keep our own selves legit. So, no matter what hideous stuff is going on in your country, just consider it a test. Keep your vibration up to see if you can do it. Just consider it an opportunity to prove to yourself how powerful you are by staying up above all that. Okay? Because that's really the most of it is our job is to keep rising in frequency until we can meet face to face on a level plane. And then we can have everything. Actually, once this happens, once we have contact with the positive ETs, we're going to have everything. I mean, believe me when I say this planet was created self-healing. This place was created to be self-healing. In the 2 years, this was another thing that happened in those 3 years. We stopped driving so much. Everybody was staying home. We weren't polluting as much. Guess what? No more hole in the ozone. It healed. Everything can be healed. I've been told this more than once. Everything can be healed. At first, I was channeling. I was channeling Divine Mother and Father. But what they told me is, you each have a Divine Mother and Father. You will have your version of them. And they are looking over you. They're watching over you. They're you. They're your family. They're part of you. And you're part of them. And they're watching over you. And if you go to them, you go to that part of you, they will nurture you. I know. I'm doing deep woo. Look at the title, Deep Woo. This is deep. All these things are waiting for us, though. Living a very long and healthy life, that's going to come. Being able to really enjoy, even though we're still in the matrix, being able to enjoy it, that's going to come. Being able to get out of the matrix, that's going to come. It's all going to come. At some point, you get out of the matrix for good. I believe that's at some of the higher densities. They don't even have such a thing. it looks like, there's a point at which it's not even an issue. So, but the Matrix was originally supposed to be a wonderful place where you could experience all kinds of joys that, all kinds of things, have all kinds of cool experiences. It wasn't supposed to suck. Okay. It wasn't supposed to be this painful and horrible. Okay. Some of you actually choose for it to be this painful. We'll go into that some other time, but it really wasn't meant to be like this. It was really meant to be a nice place where you could learn things, experience things, experience different things than you'd be able to experience as whatever you are normally. That's how it started out. And it can be that again. As far as I know, we're going that way. Looks like we are going that way. We're going to accomplish that. So just don't lose hope. Once everything gets back into place, we've already repaired some of the doorways, some of the ways to get out. We've already repaired some of them. They're being repaired as we speak. So there were ways that were supposed to be automatic and got jammed by the virus. We're repairing those. So that's all going to be repaired. It's taking a bit of time because not everybody who knows they can do that are up and doing it. Not everybody even knows they can do that kind of work. The other thing that's happened is the partitions that keep different realities in their own reality has been ripped up by a lot of the nuclear stuff. And that's what they mean by they don't want to see any nuclear activity here, because that could just rip the veil right wide open and let stuff in. And it's already happening. Stuff has already come in etherically that doesn't really belong here. And it's not its fault. It's just falling through the cracks. And this is probably some of our missing 411 too. As some of our missing 411s are probably falling into another place where they don't belong too. So yeah, we might see all kind. And here's another factor: if we're going through these different densities, what kind of things live in these different densities? We might see the dragons again. We might see the good dragons instead of just the negative stuff. We might see the ones that are supposed to be magical and wise. We might see those show up. We might see almost anything. I don't know what all we're going to show up. It's going to be a new frontier. And guess what? If you make it through these next few years, you're going to see it. Isn't that exciting? And isn't it worth it? So I ask you again, what's it worth to you to get your godlike superpowers back? They're not really superpowers. You should have them. You should all have them. What's it worth? Is it worth not poisoning yourself? Is it worth a little bit of effort? Meditation? Is it worth doing things that make you happy? And relinquishing this idea that you need to be punished? I think one of our worst things is feelings of worthlessness, feelings that we're not worthy, feelings that we don't deserve, whatever it is in your head. If you're having those feelings, and Mary, I'm talking to you too. If you are having these things happen, you're just not quite a match with what you need yet. We can work on that. I can give you some processes where you can work on it yourself. Okay. And use it all the time. And I did that for a long time. And I still use it. Okay. And it's the excess consciousness stuff, and help you get through all that crap and get through to where you really believe you do deserve the good stuff in life and you get it and not everybody else, right? You can do that. It can all be healed. Okay, so if you take nothing else away from this, please take away the fact that everything can be changed. Pretty much everything. I think maybe there might be a few things that are collectively set, but probably not that much. I think probably as we raise in vibration, everything changes to be a much more beneficial, much more comfortable, much more fun. It looks like we have a very, very bright future once we get through this, once we just plow through this crap that's been happening. We come out on the other side much better off. So just keep that in mind and don't hesitate to call for help when you need help. Call on your higher powers, call on your higher self. The good guys know who they are. See, to me, God is all of us. And I mean, that isn't just people on this planet, I mean, all of us. So when I am asking my guides for help, I know there are other parts of me, other parts of God. So I ask for help. I call them angels. They're probably not traditionally what you'd think of as angels. I have a whole bunch of beings that help me. Sometimes I will just say, you do too. Sometimes I will just say, hey, will you please get in touch with their angels and say, they really need help with this. Sometimes you got to ask, okay? And sometimes if you don't ask, they can't do it. Remember, so much is free will and so much is by agreement. So don't hesitate to ask for what you need. You need help. Ask for help. Don't be proud. Don't try to tough it out by yourself. You've got friends wherever you are, seen and unseen. You've got friends. You have beings that love you. I do feel a lot of love coming from Mother Earth, Father Sky, and we call it the cosmic sun, Father. You can call them Father or Mother, but I can see Earth as a mother, harboring all this life, nurturing it all. It's very, very effective way to think of it. I get a lot of love from them when I do my meditation where I connect the two. Maybe I will have a show where I do that meditation and you can join me. And I'll show you how I do it. Yeah, I think that'll be something I do pretty soon. So you have a horde of beings that are just waiting to help you, but they need you to ask. So don't forget to ask. Okay. Is there anything else I need to tell you before I close? I love you. You are loved. And in the higher densities, there are people that are waiting for you. They love you. They're waiting for you. They are as excited to be able to talk to you face to face as you are about seeing them. They're as excited as you are. The reason we're only being taken up astrally and not physically, like I said, it's like that's the part of us, I think, because that's part of us that's untainted. Our bodies We're pretty toxified. And that may be why we're not already walking around on starships in these bodies. Is because these bodies are like plague dogs or something right now. Okay. Well, I love you. You are much loved. The truth is where you find it, and it's always waiting right there. Everything you desire is waiting for you. You just come into alignment with it. And don't forget, you are divine. Okay. Have a wonderful night. Love you much. Or day. This is day for some of you.